Boxing is a sport that happens outside the ring more than it does inside the ring. When you look at the preparation required to make a fight happen, especially at higher levels, it's barely believable that fights end up happening at all. This is without even taking into account what the fighter needs to do as an individual, because paperwork and contracts and making sure everyone gets their piece of the pie comes before everything else. Every fight is profitability before pugilism, and that's fine because the more money people make, the more interest there is in the sport, the more boxing we get to see. Because of this, the media machine plays a huge part in getting the public whipped up into an excitable frenzy, willing to spend their time and money to watch the drama build and unfold. They do this through interviews and promotional pieces, and they build a narrative around the fight. This is where it starts to become a circus act. Two fighters that are at each other's throats leading up to the fight become a spectacle that gets people involved, even if they aren't traditionally fans of the sport. Sometimes it may be an act on the part of the fighters, knowing that their antics will create tension and drive up viewership. Other times, the bad blood may be genuine, and that holds an excitement all on its own. These aggressive exchanges drive up the tension and create suspense for the fight itself. It's easy to get caught up in the theater of it all, following the pre-fight press conferences and interviews as if they're a show all on their own. The fighters become characters in this all-encompassing show that is guaranteed to end in physical violence. The fight becomes the climactic final episode of a season of reality TV. It's a format that's entertaining, involving, and seeing as boxing is still making huge amounts of cash, is also relatively successful. However, the dicking about can cross a line, and it becomes more about the build-up than the fight itself. This is where the sport of boxing begins to lose, when the purity of the sport is diluted in favor of tasteless drama. Just take a look at any Jake Paul or KSI event, where the build-up has always been extremely dramatic, but when it came time to fight, the quality on display has been subpar, to be kind. To follow this hype that influencer-type boxers have created has seen real career pros behaving like kids in an effort to grab media attention. The antics get more ridiculous as well, in what seems like a game of social media one-upmanship. It felt like boxing, as a sport, needed a palate cleanser, and that's exactly what it got in the shape of the Beterbiev versus Bivol fights. The lead-up to the first fight was utterly devoid of drama, which gave the fight a slightly lower profile, especially considering that these were two unbeaten fighters clashing to claim an undisputed title. The elements for the circus were all there. One fighter had gotten the better of Canelo. The other had won every one of his professional bouts by way of knockout. The stakes were high for both Bivol and Beterbiev. Both put untarnished records on the line, and both stood the chance to be crowned the first undisputed light heavyweight champion in the four-belt era. Yet there was no drama, no antics, just two boxers entirely focused on boxing. The fights that followed were both master classes of ring work. The first fight saw Beterbiev win on a split decision. The fight was extremely close, but Bivol was bested by the aggression and relentless pressure of Uzair Beterbiev. Just knowing that Beterbiev had won every professional fight up to this point by way of knockout underlines what a heroic performance Bivol put on, despite having lost. The rematch was one of the most anticipated fights in the boxing community in recent history, and it did not disappoint. Bivol got out to a flying start, laying in accurate and destructive combinations. The middle rounds went to Beterbiev, whose experience and strength were put to good use. In the end, it was Bivol that had more left in the tank as the fight wore on, and his victory was well-deserved. Bivol in this fight made Beterbiev work harder and fight the best fight I've seen him fight. In fact, particularly in this rematch, we got to see both of these fighters fight the best fights of both of their respective careers, and on the day, Bivol had marginally more to give. These are two fights that are destined to go down in the annals of boxing history as some of the most pure pugilism that we've ever seen. The part of it that should also be remembered was the class with which both of these boxers exude. If ever there were two role models for young boxers to look up to, it would be these two. They don't trash talk, they don't complain, they're just there to box, and the circus that follows other boxers is nowhere in sight. There is a place for the acidic rivalries in this sport, because watching Ben and Eubank outside the ring has already been as entertaining and explosive as their fight is likely going to be. However, Beterbiev and Bivol are different, in that they give the appearance that they aren't even in this sport for the money. They seem to be here just in the pursuit of excellence, both speaking little, but leaving nothing unsaid inside the ring.